Hello do-gooders of the internet, welcome back to Vlog4Good. I'm Chloe and I'm not alone today, I'm joined by some other colleagues here at Save the Children. Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Robbie McIntyre. I work for our Humanitarian Information and Communications team. Forgot my own job title there.
I'm Alison Griffin. I work in the emergency fundraising team.
So today we're doing a Q&A. What is the most unusual thing on your CV?
For 6 weeks, one summer, I soldered Mazda car parts together in a factory through the night.
I used to have a job where I would stand on the red carpet asking some silly questions to some film stars and celebrities. Well, I wasn't very good at that, so I didn't ask silly enough questions.
What couldn't you do your job without?
My amazing team, including Claire, who's over here.
My team are also thoroughly amazing, so I would second that. Also, we have a humanitarian laptop, which our team have, which whilst it isn't the quickest thing in the entire world, I definitely couldn't do my job without it.
If you had to run out of the building and could only take one thing with you, what would it be?
It depends if everyone's alright. If everyone's not alright, I would carry out the lightest member of my team. In case our fire warden is watching this, I wouldn't take anything. I would march straight towards the nearest exit as early as possible.
We've got lots of exciting plans, like big dreams to raise loads more money.
Are you taking your dreams out of the building?
I had my dreams in my hand, which is basically a few sheets of paper on my desk.
That's so nice, just carry your dreams out. I really like
I'm making a mental note to write my dreams down now, it doesn't happen enough.
What would you keep in an in case of emergency box?
Earl Grey tea bags and something dramatic like a satellite phone.
You'd probably want like a small tent that you could use actually for shelter, but for electricity wise. So that you could see a head torch, always useful, so you can find your way around in an emergency.
So, on the subject of emergencies and emergency supplies, can we guess what we're about to discuss? Yes, because I already emailed you and told you.
I would think that we should be here to talk about the Nepal earthquake and the second earthquake that happened.
As we know, there have actually been 2 earthquakes in Nepal within 3 weeks of each other, was it 3 or 2? What is the scale of the impact and which areas have sort of been affected and hit the hardest?
From the first earthquake, more than 8,000 people have passed away, but the full number is becoming clearer. We don't know the final figure for that yet and how many people were hurt also, because many thousand more were injured. There have been aftershocks ever since the first one. The biggest of which deserves to be called an earthquake in its own right, was a little bit smaller than the first earthquake, but it still caused quite a lot of damage in some of the same areas as well. A further 120 people at least have been killed from the second earthquake, and at least 2,500 more people injured.
How have children, because we are Save the Children, how have children and families been affected?
Well, hundreds of thousands of them have had to leave their homes because they've been completely ruined, and they're currently living in camps. And as well as not having enough food, not access to clean water, losing their belongings, things to cook with, children are also going to be psychologically affected. But Save the Children in these camps is setting up child-friendly spaces, so they're tents where children can go and they can play with their friends, they can feel a bit safer, they can learn again.
So you mentioned child-friendly spaces. Save the Children have been responding to the crisis, obviously, so what kind of services, supplies or aid have they been providing?
Immediately in an emergency like this, there are some basic things that people need. One of the biggest things that we've been providing people in the worst affected places with is tarpaulin. Also trying to reach people with food baskets, because that's something that obviously people desperately need. Things like household kits that have basic items that people might need for things like cooking and looking after themselves. Hygiene kits, so that if people need to, they can keep themselves clean, all the basic sort of items that you would want to have. We've also have mobile health clinics that are currently going around one of the worst affected areas, Sindhu Palchak, because it's very mountainous. It's about doing everything we can to reach not just the worst affected places, but also the most remote communities with help.
If you imagine, there's so many valleys, and the sides of the valleys are cliff-like. Somebody in our team said that if you ironed Nepal out, it would be the biggest country in the world.
I think that's quite a hard one to verify, but but we also need to make sure we reach the most remote communities. There's an area called Rasur, which is on the border with Tibet, which is harder to reach. We had teams there in place before the second earthquake hit, and we are flying light helicopters in to provide them with the supplies they need to give to people. That again would be helping people with basic hygiene items, providing them with setting up child-friendly spaces, and also setting up health posts so that people know where to try and go to get basic treatments. The other thing to bear in mind, there are lots of agencies responding to this. The UN helps us to coordinate, to make sure that we're not all going to the same places, that between us all, everybody we can is being helped.
And of course, it's a race against time as well. We've got the monsoon season coming up in a couple of weeks. Is the priority kind of to establish temporary but safe shelter to withstand the monsoon, or to try and get areas safe and clear for people to return to more permanent housing?
So I've been talking to one of our shelter experts, and just earlier today, he's somebody I've worked with on deployment. So we have some of our technical experts from the UK on the ground. We also have some Nepalese members of shelter staff out there as well. You're right, the monsoon season is a matter of weeks away. It's vital that we reach as many people with essential supplies before it becomes more difficult to get around. The government of Nepal is encouraging people to go home where possible, as people are fearful because of aftershocks, but where possible they do want people to go home so they don't become displaced. But speaking to our shelter expert Dominic earlier today, he was saying at the moment we are already working on looking how we can work with communities to make it so that their homes are more secure, so that they are built better than they were to begin with, so that they're more likely to withstand further aftershocks.
Imagine monsoon rains coming down. It means the risk of waterborne diseases like cholera is so much higher. So we're giving out hygiene kits. We mentioned earlier, like soap, hand washing equipment, toothbrushes, toothpaste, to try and reduce that risk as much as possible. The good thing about Save the Children is we have a resource called the Children's Emergency Fund, which is a pot of money that we have readily available. So immediately a disaster hits, we can release money, and that means that we can get people deployed out there to work on the response. We can also move stocks and supplies like the tarpaulins, like the kitchen utensils, like the hand washing stuff. It means that we can respond within hours on the ground. The first few hours are all about what's the situation, who's the worst hit, how can we respond.
If it's something like a typhoon, for example, we will receive alert in advance. But for Nepal, we would definitely, everyone was on their guard for the fact they knew an earthquake would be possible. Even before the first one hit, a big earthquake, actually possibly bigger than the one that's happened, was feared. We have more than 400 staff in Nepal already. We have a very strong regional hub, so we would often be alerting the rest of the building here, to our fundraising, media, advocacy teams, and to the rest of the humanitarian department that an earthquake has happened, that we need to start responding. Kat was on a plane out to Nepal within 48 hours of it happening.
Sleeping in a car park.
And sleeping in a car park,
You can check out her vlogs in the links below.
Yeah, eating dried fruit, the sort of things that will often happen in the early days of an emergency. We have been trying to get in as much of our supplies as we can. What I would say is, whilst difficult, all of our teams have been working round the clock to make sure they overcome all of those difficulties so that we can reach the people who need it with help as quickly as possible.
Can I add as well, the UK public, general public, have been absolutely phenomenal. We raised £1 million in 4 days, which is the most we've ever raised for an emergency appeal like this.
Phenomenal.
It's absolutely brilliant, and it means that we can ring these guys, who then let the Nepal country team know that money is on its way, so you can keep responding.
Speaking of our lovely supporters and the British public, and in fact all the public, what other things can people outside of Save the Children do to be sort of helping or donating towards the cause?
Well, there's lots of simple things you can do. The first thing, if you do have a fiver, you could text the word crisis to 70008.
Just along the bottom here now.
Like this.
Magic.
It's really quick. If 11 of you text that word and donate £5, it means that it'll pay for an entire shelter kit for a family. And that's not just a piece of tarpaulin and some rope to stick up, it's the whole works. It is a kitchen utensil set, so the cooking equipment, pots and pans. It's all the hygiene stuff like toothpaste, toothbrush, soap, and we have seen these kits being delivered. So it really will get there. Other things you can do, well, let us know. Be as creative as you possibly can be. We've had people do bucket collections in supermarkets. We've had people do cake sales, wonderful bake sales, crazy food parties. What makes you inspired to want to give? When we do like a super emergency high five.
Oh, you've got really into this, haven't you, Griffin?
Yes!
Was that not? No.
Woo, woo. That wasn't even my idea. That's how awesome they are. That was our Q&A on Nepal. Thank you guys for being in the video and for answering all the questions so awesomely. To find out more about the earthquake and how you can help and how you can fundraise and everything that we've covered in this video so far, check the links in the description. They'll also probably be on the page somewhere. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Save the Children, and check out more Vlog4Good. The playlist is also in the description, which is getting very full at the moment. I've been Chloe.
I've been Robbie and still am.
And I'm Ali. Bye.
and that's how we make a YouTube video.
And we're vlogging for good.